Have you ever stopped mid-thought and asked yourself, who am I, really? Not the version you show to your friends, not the filtered life online, not even who your family thinks you are. I'm talking about the real you, the one that surfaces when the world is silent, when the mask drops, when no one's around to perform for. That moment, raw, unfiltered, that's where your truth begins. So today, we're diving into the most important question you might never have fully answered. Who are you when no one is watching? It's a question that can feel both simple and impossibly complex. Because, let's be honest, most of us spend our lives surrounded by noise. The expectations, the opinions, the constant hum of what we should be, should do, should want. We're so used to performing, to curating, to editing ourselves for the world, that the idea of stripping all that away can feel almost alien. But what if, just for a moment, you could let all of that fall away? What if you could meet yourself, not as a collection of roles or achievements, but as a living, breathing, feeling human being, with all your contradictions, your dreams, your fears, your hopes? That's what we're exploring today. Not just the surface-level question of identity, but the deeper, quieter truth that lives underneath. The truth that only emerges when the world goes quiet and you're left with nothing but yourself. From the moment we're born, we're handed roles. Be polite, be smart, be strong, be easy to love. So we learn early. It's safer to become who others expect than to risk rejection for who we actually are. We become a collection of adaptations, smiling when we're not okay, nodding when we disagree, laughing at jokes that make us uncomfortable. The truth? Most of us have never met our real selves. We've only ever met our performance. And when no one's watching, that performance fades. What's left? Often it's discomfort, restlessness, sometimes even fear, because being alone with ourselves can feel unfamiliar, even threatening. But that unease, it's an invitation, a signal that the person beneath the mask is ready to be seen. Think about it. How many times have you caught yourself acting a certain way just to fit in, to avoid conflict, or to make someone else comfortable? How many times have you swallowed your true feelings, hidden your quirks, or silenced your own needs because you were afraid of being too much, or not enough? We're taught to believe that fitting in is the same as belonging, but they're not. Fitting in means changing yourself to match the room. Belonging means being accepted as you are, and the more we perform, the further we drift from that sense of true belonging, not just with others, but with ourselves. So when you find yourself alone and the performance drops, it can feel like you're meeting a stranger. But that stranger is you, the you that's been waiting, quietly, for permission to exist. Let's get real. How do you know if you've drifted from your authentic self? You feel exhausted around people, even those you love. You constantly second-guess what you say or do. You adapt to every room you walk into, like a social chameleon. Silence feels unsettling, even terrifying. You don't know what you want, only what's expected of you. If this sounds familiar, you're not broken. You've just spent a lifetime being who you needed to be, not who you are. And realizing that is the beginning of reclaiming your identity. Maybe you notice that you're always the one making peace, smoothing things over, keeping the mood light. Or maybe you're the achiever, the one who always has it together, who never lets anyone see you struggle. Or maybe you're the caretaker, always putting others first, even when it costs you your own well-being. These roles aren't bad. They're often how we survived, how we found love or safety or acceptance. But over time, they can become cages. And the longer we stay in them, the harder it is to remember who we were before we put them on. The exhaustion you feel isn't a flaw, it's a signal. It's your soul's way of saying, I'm tired of pretending, I want to be real. Here's the thing. Solitude doesn't create the real you, it reveals it. When no one's watching, you begin to notice what thoughts keep looping in your head, what you're drawn to without influence, what emotions you've been pushing away. You start to notice what brings relief versus what brings joy. And there's a difference. Relief is escaping pressure. Joy is coming home to yourself. You might realize you've been living on autopilot, reacting instead of choosing, pleasing instead of expressing, but solitude strips the noise. And in that silence, the real you whispers, I'm still here. I've just been waiting for you to notice. Solitude can be uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to constant stimulation, distraction, or validation from others. But it's in that discomfort that you start to hear your own voice again. The voice that knows what you love, what you fear, what you long for. The voice that remembers your childhood dreams, your secret hopes, your quiet strengths. When you give yourself the gift of solitude, you create space for self-discovery. You start to see the patterns you've been living out, the stories you've been telling yourself, the beliefs you've inherited from others. And in that space, you get to choose, which parts of me are truly mine? Which parts am I ready to let go of? This is the beginning of self-acceptance, not the kind that says, I'm perfect as I am, but the kind that says, I'm willing to meet myself, flaws and all, and see what's real. So how do you meet the version of you that lives beneath the performance? First, practice intentional solitude. Don't just be alone, listen when you are. Journal, meditate, walk without distractions. Notice what rises to the surface. Second, observe your patterns. Where do you shrink? Where do you exaggerate? Where do you feel most at peace, and most fake? Third, name what matters to you. Not what looks good, not what earns approval, but what actually makes your chest feel light, your soul feel full. Fourth, take micro risks. Say the thing. Set the boundary. Be a little less perfect. Watch how life responds when you show up a bit more you. Because the goal isn't to be someone new, it's to return to the someone you were, before the world told you who to be. Let's break these down a bit more. Intentional solitude isn't about isolating yourself or running away from the world. It's about creating moments where you can tune out the external noise and tune into your own inner world. Maybe it's a quiet morning with a cup of coffee, a walk in the park without your phone, or a few minutes of deep breathing before bed. The point is to give yourself space to just be, without an agenda, without a performance. Observing your patterns means becoming a gentle detective in your own life. Notice when you feel yourself shrinking, when you hold back your truth, when you laugh at something that doesn't feel funny. Notice when you feel most alive, most at ease, most yourself. These moments are clues. They point you toward your authentic self. Naming what matters to you is about getting honest. What do you value? What do you care about, even if no one else does? What makes you feel alive, even if it doesn't make sense to others? These are the things that light you up from the inside. And taking micro risks is about practicing authenticity in small, manageable ways. Maybe it's saying no when you want to, even if it disappoints someone. Maybe it's sharing a piece of your story you've kept hidden. Maybe it's letting yourself be seen, even when it feels vulnerable. Each time you do, you build trust with yourself. You prove to yourself that it's safe to be real. So, who are you when no one is watching? Not what your resume says, not how many people like your posts, but in the stillness of your own presence, who shows up? Because that version of you is your power. And the more you learn to live from that place, the less you need approval, and the more you become unshakable. Imagine a life where you don't have to constantly monitor yourself, where you don't have to wonder if you're saying the right thing, where you don't have to keep up a facade just to be accepted. Imagine waking up and knowing, deep down, that you are enough, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. This doesn't mean you'll never feel insecure or that you'll never care what others think. It means that your sense of self-worth isn't tied to external validation. It means you can move through the world with a quiet confidence, a sense of inner stability that can't be shaken by other people's opinions. And here's the beautiful part. The more you show up as your real self, the more you attract people and opportunities that are aligned with who you truly are. You stop chasing approval, and you start attracting genuine connection. You stop performing, and you start living. This is the gift of authenticity. It's not about being perfect or always knowing who you are. It's about being willing to meet yourself again and again with honesty and compassion. It's about giving yourself permission to change, to grow, to evolve, because the real you isn't a fixed identity. It's a living, breathing process, and every time you choose to be real, you come home to yourself. Follow Think Naked to grow through your emotions, not around them. Let's learn to feel, to heal, and to connect, one honest moment at a time. Remember, the journey to your authentic self isn't a straight line. There will be days when you slip back into old patterns, when the mask feels safer than the truth. That's okay. Growth isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up, about choosing honesty over comfort, about showing up for yourself even when it's hard. Every time you choose to listen to your own voice, to honor your own needs, to show up as you are, you're rewriting the story of who you are. You're building a life that feels true, not just impressive. So, who are you when no one is watching? You are possibility. You are resilience. You are worthy of being seen just as you are. And the world needs the real you. Not the performance, not the mask, but the honest, imperfect, beautiful human underneath. Thank you for being here, for being brave enough to ask the hard questions, for being willing to meet yourself in the quiet. Keep going, your real self is waiting.